everyone, this is Masaya Yamaguchi coming to you from Manhattan, New York. In the previous episode, I told you not to rely on made-up stories, but to experience history through things that are real. This time we're going to put that idea into practice. Do you know when the blues was born? Many books tell us that the blues was born around 1900 in the Mississippi Delta, but much of that story is simply a narrative constructed later. Today I'm going to show you a primary source from 1839. More than 60 years before 1900. Once you see this evidence, the history of jazz begins to look very different. Take a look at this map. In 1803, Thomas Jefferson, the third president of the United States, purchased a vast territory from France. This was the Louisiana Purchase. But the Louisiana of that time was completely different from the state of Louisiana we know today. It was a huge territory extending all the way to the Canadian border. New Orleans became its gateway. It was an extraordinary city where French, Spanish, and African cultures came together. And even after the territory became part of the United States, Spanish coins continued to circulate there as a legacy of the colonial period. This silver coin was called a Picayune. It was an everyday coin used by ordinary people, essentially a small denomination of money. Now, take a look at this newspaper. This is the Daily Picayune, published in New Orleans in 1839. As its name suggests, it was a newspaper for ordinary people, and it could be purchased for 1 Picayune. And right there on the pages of this newspaper, we already find the word blues. The article is titled Negro with the Blues. If we translate that literally, it means something like a black person suffering from the blues. But I want you to pay attention to a particular passage. It describes a conversation between black people in which one person says that a white person called something the blues. This is the important point. In 1839, the blues did not yet exist as a musical genre. So what did the word blues mean at that time? It referred to a state of melancholy, sadness, or depression. In other words, what we can confirm here is not the existence of blues music, but the existence of the word blues as an expression for a state of melancholy. More generally, the association between the color blue and melancholy in English is thought to have developed over many centuries, beginning in the medieval period. I consider the works of the 14th century poet Geoffrey Chaucer, for example, as one point of reference in this history. In other words, the word blues itself already existed within the English-speaking cultural tradition. And now we come to the crucial point. By 1839, African Americans were already using English and sharing this vocabulary, including the word blues. They were using existing English words to express their own reality, their work, their oppression, and their everyday emotions. About 70 years before the blues appeared in written musical form as a 12-bar musical structure, we can already confirm the existence of the concept of the blues. This is extremely important. The blues did not necessarily begin as music. The word and the concept existed first. Later, that concept crystallized into music. That is how we can understand the development of the blues. The fact that the word came first is an important part of the cultural innovation that took place in America. And this was not simply an emotional outpouring. To understand an existing language, to adopt it, and to adapt it to one's own reality requires a clear form of intelligence. Many books explain the blues simply as a story of sadness, but we rarely have the opportunity to encounter the history of the word itself, or the primary sources behind that history. Understanding history as a story or a made-up narrative is a completely different experience from understanding it through evidence. I've prepared a Spotify playlist that will allow you to experience this atmosphere through music. You can access it through the link in the description or by scanning the QR code on the screen with your smartphone. There are two playlists, one for folk blues and one for popular blues. Listen to the music on your smartphone and experience the blues for yourself. And as you listen, try to feel the process by which the blues we have studied today, first as a word and a concept, gradually became embodied in music. Knowing the origin of a word can bring us closer to the soul of the music. If you have any questions or comments, please send them through the form in the description. I read all of them. In the next episode, we'll move forward to 1850, when the word blues begins to appear in sheet music within white society. And then we'll follow the story toward 1920, when the course of history takes a major turn. I hope you'll join me as we continue to explore American music history and uncover the evidence behind the stories. This is Masaya Yamaguchi. Please subscribe to the channel.